Hey friends, we're back with the first lesson, and that's how we're going to plan and structure our learning path so that our students are successful. So the first thing we're going to talk about is planning it, and really you don't want to plan more than a week at a time. So 1 week is a pretty good amount to give students in their learning path. You can assign it at the beginning of the week, they can work through it all week, and at the end, they're done. So the first thing you want to do is think about what's your objective, same as with any lesson planning, because you want everything you do to align to that objective so that students learn it. So once you know your objective, you have to ask yourself, what resources will you need in order to meet that objective? So what are you going to need to teach, to practice, and to assess the students in that skill? So some things you might need are videos. You might need some workshops, some task cards, some digital activities, some just whatever your curriculum offers you already, you're probably able to use in a learning path. So I do have a planning sheet that you can use, and we're going to look at my plan really quickly. Okay, so here is a plan template, and there is a blank one that you can download and use yourself. And notice that it has the days of the week and also the three main components of teaching. So we're actually going to teach, we're going to allow students to practice, and then we're going to assess student learning and make sure they're on the right track. So what I did was pretend that I'm making one. I'm making a pretend one, and throughout this workshop, we'll build it and you'll see it come to life. But this learning path and my skill and objective I'm working on is symmetry. So when I was thinking about how am I going to teach this, I knew that I needed to have a video teaching. And so I just went to YouTube and I searched symmetry videos, and I found a good one and I pasted it here. I also thought about the vocabulary word. The next day, on Tuesday, the students are going to fill out some interactive notebook pages. Now notice it says 4.6b file. This is just regular printable curriculum that I'm going to digitize and make it work with remote learning. So I have a file of all of my symmetry pages, and I'm just going to use those pages. So after students are learning the new material through the teach activities, they're going to practice. And so I have a worksheet here that's from that file. It just is a basic worksheet like that the students are going to use to practice. I found a couple of games online. I just went to Google and I searched symmetry online games, and I found a couple of them. So those are links to those games. And then I have a digital activity that came with this resource kit, the files. So I have a digital activity for that already. So I'm going to include that on Tuesday's practice. So I also need some assessment, and it's really important with remote learning that students are able to self-assess. So anytime you can do something that is self-checking or provide a key for them, that's going to be really important, because you're not going to be there to show them and to tell them as much as you would in class. And also you can't depend on them having family members or parents that'll do it for them. So on Monday, my plan is to create some self-checking task cards, and I'm just getting those task cards again straight from my regular old curriculum that I would use, how I would normally just print them and play them in the classroom. So nothing special, nothing crazy or new, just the same old things that we're normally using, we're going to use in a remote learning path. And then on Tuesday, I have a quiz. Typically, here's what the quiz looks like. Typically, I would just print it and allow the students to take it. But this time I'm going to digitize it, and I'm going to create a really quick Scantron, I guess you would call it, that students can fill out and can be self-checking. So that is my plan, and that is what we're going to work through, and I'm going to show you through this workshop. So now let's go back to the next part of lesson 1, which is structure. Okay, so you're going to plan what you want students to learn, and now you're going to structure your learning path in a way that students will learn by doing your activities. So the most important thing is to think about your structure as being really linear. You want students to have a very clear start and stop. They need to know what they're expected to do and when they're done for the day. They also need clear expectations on how they're supposed to complete assignments, what they're supposed to do if they're confused or not learning, or things like that. So you may also want to share the results with them. So when you grade something, you can let them know how they did, so that helps them assess themselves. So you can have a place for questions and answers, and that can be for teacher to student or student to student. and how they are going to communicate with you if they have a question or need something. All of this is going to be done and organized in Google Slides file. And that makes it super easy to go linear. That's why I love Google Slides. And we're going to use Google Slides to pass out their work to them and to collect their work. So everything they're doing is going to be received from a slide, and it's going to be answered or put back on a slide as well. And you do that through the use of links, the snipping tool, screenshots, copy and paste. You can even have an option for printing if students want to print something and try it that way. So lesson 1 was about planning and structuring. So just to recap, for planning, you want to plan something that the students can learn from, the actual teaching that's replacing your mouth in the classroom. You want to have something they can practice from, and you want to have something that you can assess them and they can assess themselves. You want to structure this using Google Forms in a way that the students can work through and know exactly what to do. All right, so our next lesson we're going to go into is how you actually teach. So that first big component of distance learning, the teach. All right, so stay tuned.